Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 50 of the AZ Snakepit Video Roundtable. Wow, 50 episodes. That's a number. Today I'm joined by Turumbar, Tolkien Bard, and Ed Bighead. And so we're going to have a raucous good time. He. I guess to get started, I'll just say up front that I was thinking that the theme of this episode would be more, shall we say, let's look into the future where things would be better and less say, how can we kill Kevin Towers with a shovel? Because there's been enough of that going around, and I just thought we'd change directions. So we'll just talk about first the near future. If the trade deadline's coming up in a month for the purposes of this show. If you were the GM, and you're not, but you might be soon, who knows? What would you do to the Diamondbacks at the deadline? Anyone could jump in on that.
Okay, well, we're probably going to end up packaging Hill and Puts on a trade to somewhere far off land, maybe even Prado. But I would definitely do something with McCarthy. He's terrible. He will always be terrible, and he's lost 10 games, won 1. I would fire myself as the GM, as Kevin Towers should do. He should fall on his own sword. But I think Patrick has a little bit more insight on a possible Hill Puts trade. So, Patrick, what do you think about that?
Well, I don't know about insight.
If I just jump in for a second, J.J. Puts was DFA'd this past week, so him being traded might not actually happen. He just might go into win. But assuming we can trade him before the waiver deadline, what would you do?
I think it wasn't brought up by myself, but I think someone on the board mentioned that Detroit is always looking for bullpen arms. Might be able to move him there. I'm not sure what we get. I think the major trade piece, though, has to be Hill. He's definitely not going to be part of the future of this team. And he, in my opinion, the most tradable guy on the team right now. What do you guys think?
Well, I don't think that Putz sticks around with the organization long enough to get traded at the deadline. I have a feeling he's going to be a free agent here in about 10 more days. I just don't see having DFA'd him already. I don't see anybody offering the Diamondbacks anything for him, unless they're simply trying to get in line and ahead of other people to ensure that they get him instead of him choosing through free agency. Hill, if you can get anything for Hill, this is the time to do it. This deadline. Don't wait till the off season. I really would like to see them trade Mark Trumbo. I really do. But he's got to get healthy and he's got to be on the field first. And I'm not sure he's going to be back in time. But if they can get him back at the timeline they're talking about, which is the end of this month, he should still have about 3 weeks worth of games by the trade deadline. If he can put up anything even remotely resembling what he did before he went down, there should be an AL team out there somewhere looking for a first baseman / DH. And by moving him, that you can then put Prado at second. If you traded Hill, you can put Prado in left field. If you traded Trumbo, that makes for Jake Lamb to come up. If you don't want Jake Lamb to come up, you still have Peralta can get more reps on left field. I don't see Mark Trumbo being a huge difference maker for the team this year or next year, and he's going to be getting a significant increase in salary if he does even half of what he expected to do here. So before he gets expensive, go ahead and move him to a team that will value him a lot more than we will.
So if Puts walks away and he becomes a free agent, we're still going to owe him $3 million?
3.6, yes.
That's a terrible figure.
Yeah, that is what they would call Buco Dolores money. But it does seem like there is some trend towards getting the team a little younger. Whether or not we'll see. But yeah, Puts Egon. Yeah, I would say that Aaron Hill is the most interesting piece because he has perceived value for another team, in the presumably in the future because second baseman can hit for some power. That's not a bad thing. I think McCarthy, he has perceived value just based on past performance, and so someone might take a flyer on him as a sort of change of scenery kind of thing. But he just might be someone we move just to get something like just a warm body in return, just so that you know you have something instead of just him walking at the end of the year, if that makes sense. I could be wrong.
No, you're not wrong. Where does Cahill stand in all this? We owe him how much for the rest of his contract?
Think of a number, multiply it by 20 million, and you're probably still not close.
Come on, seriously, it's like 10 million, right?
It's 10.7 or something like that is his option.
I had it here. Just give me a second, and I'll pull it right back up.
I mean, there's only so much dead weight. The point I'm trying to make is there's only so much dead weight we can actually end up dropping off. I mean, I don't want to call Hill dead weight, but as far as the future of this team goes, yeah, he is. We could maybe move McCarthy, maybe. Probably.
Cahill is expensive, but at least he's not on the team right now. So.
No, yeah, it's true. He was a tire fire for quite a while.
With this year and next year combined and his buyout, he's going to get about $16 million more.
I'm sorry. I just always wanted to do a spit take, and my lifelong dream has been realized, and I'm so happy right now. So
he gets 12.2 next year and has a $300,000 buyout for 2016. We're paying him 7.9 for this year, so.
For him to play in single A.
Well, he's in Reno now. Same difference, huh?
Well, that's where Puts was, 2 or 3 weeks ago?
Mm-hmm.
Then we brought him back, and he was still terrible, and DFA'd him again. So, I mean, how long is Cahill actually going to be around? He accepted the minor league assignment, but how long is he really going to be around for? And who's going to pick up his contract?
Well, that's the thing. His contract was his performance means nobody in their right mind would touch it, which is unfortunate for us. But I think the team still thinks Cahill can be he could be saved, for lack of a better term. That they can somehow fix whatever the hell's been plaguing him on and off since 2013, and yeah. But will that happen? I'm skeptical, but it is basically his contract says that keeps Cahill around because again nobody's picking up $16 million for a lottery ticket.
Okay, so do you guys think? Go ahead, Patrick. Patrick, go ahead.
No, I was just making a small comment.
Yeah. We never have any of those here.
Hey, so I want to switch the subject a little bit. I want to go back to that game against the Brewers where we hit Braun in the butt with a baseball, and how that was, we did that. We loaded the bases, and then the grand slam. But was it really a bad idea considering we are the second worst team in baseball? And what did we have to lose at that point other than the game and all the other games that we're going to lose this season? I mean, was it really that bad that we hit Braun? It was such a terrible decision to hit Braun. It was such a bad idea to cheer for it and clap about it. I mean, what do you guys think about that? That one game is not going to define our season.
Well, the way you're phrasing it is sort of loaded that you're thinking one way, which is fine. But yeah, I'm sort of the opposite. That it's just like everyone thinks you look like a jackass right now, Kirk Gibson. Which he might not care, YOLO and all, but it just seems silly and petty. And I mean, I'm not like that upset about it, but it's just like just try to win. It's like I don't care if you're still terrible, just still try to win games because if you're not going to do that, why the hell would you even bother with anything baseball related? But that's just me.
The other two gentlemen, what do you think?
I think putting Braun on first may have been the right call, but only if you've got Brad Ziegler already warming up, and that's the way you're going to go about it, is an intentional walk. There are times where I am not entirely against throwing at or near a guy, especially if the risk of hitting him is hitting him in the fanny. But the reality is, in that game, I just didn't see anything. I didn't see why they were getting so upset. I honestly didn't. Chris Owings got hit by a pitch thrown by a very tired pitcher who was having a hard time finding the strike zone from the word go. Didi Gregorius's pitch was a great bit of soccer, quality flopping, because when the Phantom Cam can't pick up where you got hit, then we're talking about some real good acting there. If this is really all about just trying to get it on for 2011 and for being kind of a schmuck in general, I guess, but I think there's better ways to go about it, like just beating his team, and once again being prepared. If you're going to put him on, let's be prepared and have Brad Ziegler up and ready to go, instead of him just coming out and getting his 8 and then getting to work after your guy gets tossed. I think the excessive partying in the dugout was probably uncalled for.
Well, to be fair, they did cancel the clown with the balloon animals, so Kirk Gibson has a sense of decorum. So,
Okay.
but we'll move it to Pat. What did you think?
Well, regrettably, I wasn't able to actually watch that live. I did see the replays, did read about it a lot. I kind of thought the pundits were a little off and panhandling it how they did, because like Matt says, like Ed Bighead says, we are a team with nothing to lose right now. And if this kind of puts like a little fire in the belly of our players, then I guess that's good going forward. And plus, and correct me if I'm wrong, didn't a couple of our players get beaned that game? Para, I think, first, right?
Well, TB mentioned that Owings was hit, but it was clearly unintentional.
Oh,
yeah, but like in the bottom half of the previous inning, and then there was Didi who basically flopped his way to first base, which good on him. But yeah, that's the thing of that game. It's just I'm not a fan of the sort of frontier justice, but it's also like just wait till like the first inning of the next game, where things might not be so hyped up. But as far as putting a fire in their belly, I watched the next few games. That didn't work.
I'm just saying. I'm not saying it worked. I'm just saying.
Fair enough. Yeah, I don't know. It feels like if it's not the Dodgers fight level thing about it, because again, this team is terrible, and it'll just be a dumb footnote in this dumb season where everything's dumb. But
that's a good way to put it, by the way. That's a great way to put it.
Everything's dumb. That's That's all I have to say.
Wait, let's talk about Lamb.
Oh yeah. Well, that's your TV.
Yeah, I think we covered it earlier, but what is the possibility of Lamb actually getting up here this season, just to give him some reps? Anyone know?
A lot of when Lamb arrives, I think, will be dependent on what the team does at the trade deadline.
Uh-huh.
I think some of it could even be out of the Diamondbacks' hands. They may or may not actually be looking to move Prado or Trumbo right now, but if a team calls them up and says, hey, by the way, we're really interested, and here's the package, and they go, well, yeah, we got to take this. That forces their hand, and suddenly there's more of a need to go ahead and bring him up. So until the trade deadline's over, I'm not sure that we know for sure what the plan with Lamb going forward is. I would have to think that he is at the very minimum going to get the September call-up, just so he can at least start, playing games where they add that third deck to the stadium, where you start having guys that are throwing 90-mile-per-hour change-ups. Welcome to the big Skullface Aroldis Chapman kind of thing.
Well, let me ask you this though. I mean, and I know I've read about Lamb a little bit. How ready do you guys think he is, or is this just like some hype in the bad season?
It's tough to tell. The numbers he's putting up currently in Double-A are very similar to both Goldschmidt and Reynolds, but it hasn't been for quite as long a period. So, is he ready to come up? If he can, the thing he's got going for him is he's going to play at least adequate defense. He is a skilled defender at third, something Mark Reynolds never was. He's going to strike out less than Mark Reynolds did, probably.
Well, yeah.
But he's also not going to hit 45 home runs. He's probably going to hit 15 to 20 home runs, although he could probably sneak a few extra ones out if he starts pulling down the line in Chase Field. I'd like to see him come up sooner. I'd like to see him come up as soon as early to mid-August so he can get a full 200 plate appearances and see what we really have. If he's not ready by late this year, there's real concern whether or not he will ever be ready. He's not going to learn a whole lot more in Reno, which even if the pitching does, even if he does see a few pitchers that have a little bit of veteran savvy that might be able to work on him, the hitters' parks are going to play to his strengths, and so his numbers are going to start looking like video game numbers.
Have either of you other two gentlemen read about or seen him at all?
I mean, I've read about stuff written on this website, and I remember that pun Kishi made to end the episode 2 weeks ago that I still hate him for, about leading Lamb to the slaughter, and I'm going to punch him for that next time I see him, and that's basically all I know.
Nice.
I'll just keep the train moving. Choo choo. So we talked about sort of the Diamondbacks roster-wise and their maybe changes there. Something I kind of wanted to riff about, because between all of us, we've all have been to a lot of Diamondbacks games in person.
Yep.
So I think, I could be wrong there, but I think that's a thing. But the thing I wanted to sort of throw out there, because it kind of interests me, because I've seen some thoughts on some aspects of this recently. What, if you were in charge, what's something you would add to, remove, etc. from the sort of live Chase Field experience.
I would definitely remove the condiment race, or at least allow the kids to run the bases. I think that's a total joke. I know we're fan friendly. I know it's for the children, but I think it's a joke that they have to stand there on the dugout or next to the dugout and run in place. And typically the kid that doesn't run, typically the kid that the cheerleader girl is standing behind trying to force the kid to run in place is the one that wins. I think that's a complete joke. At least let them run the bases, have them sign some sort of insurance waiver, their parents sign the waiver, let them run the bases. That's going to be far more entertaining than watching kids run in place dressed up as hot dogs with a certain condiment on it. That is lame. That is the lamest thing at Chase Field next to Baxter.
I will say, just to interject, and then you two can. I was just reminded, a staple of going to minor league games when I was growing up was always the race where, and it always happened between innings, so it was fine logistically with players warming up. Was you had the mascot stand at second base, and then a random fan would stand at home, and then they'd race around the bases, and the mascot would generally just tweak it up and just not try while the person would generally overtake them. I'm reminded of one time where the person running from home, the fan they got was so slow that even with the mascot not trying, the mascot still wins. So the third base coach of the home team just basically tackled the mascot so the fan could win. But something like that would be awesome, especially if it meant Baxter got tackled, is what I'm getting at.
I'm imagining Ed Bighead doing a leg drop on Baxter. Can you make this happen right now?
from the second deck. From the second deck leg drop. I think I can jump that far.
Yeah, what would your wrestler walk-up music be?
I don't know. Probably definitely something Slayer.
Oh, Slayer. We need some Slayer. So going off to the man, I think if we had some more unique, post-game shows. I mean, I have to concur with Ed Bighead that we are maybe too fan friendly. Maybe we should try and be a little edgier and have a rock concert afterwards, not soft rock, but real hard rock. Just something that could be more unique, just different. We don't need to be fan friendly. It's nice, but we don't need it. Have a Slayer night. Let's have a Slayer night. Slayer fans only.
But I wouldn't object. It would be interesting viewing on TV anyway. Tolkien, how about you?
I am definitely for more post-game shows if we're going to try and drive more fans to the park. More post-game shows of just about any kind, mix it up so you attract different people at different times. As far as the ballpark experience itself goes, until they put a better product on the field, I don't think it's going to make a lick of difference what they do on the concourse and in the stands. I actually think that that they're doing a decent job there, with the one exception being the promotional nights that you now have to pay an extra promotional fee for, which why do they not just put the stuff in the team shop then, like the whole Obi-Wan Kenobi or whatever bobblehead with his Jedi robe. Well, if you're going to make the fans pay extra for that package on that promotional night, why not just put it into the team shop and stop calling it a promotion? The idea of a promotion is we want you to come and be here, and this is what we're giving you as an incentive. But if I have to pay for the incentive, then I like to do that. And season ticket holders are really kind of getting screwed on that.
Yeah, that's so weird. It's oh, come to free hat night. By free hat night, here's an extra $5 on top of your ticket. So really, it's $5 hat night, which is a good price for a hat. But still, come on.
Right.
Yeah. I guess for me, one, the ritual sacrifice of Baxter to whatever evil god you want, and it would be an evil one. Uh, and two, yeah, the condiment races just feels really pointless. Just because, yeah, let the kids just like run the bases, or if they can't run the bases, the run like somewhere like beyond like the foul line or something, you know? Uh,
It's actually run someplace.
yeah, exactly. Uh, I think that there is a lot of weird in-game minutia that just seems like but I can't really say for certain how that differs from a lot of other stadium experiences because I haven't been to a Major League Stadium other than Chase Field in years. So yeah, it does seem like there's a lot of covering up for the rather mediocre to now bad product on the field. And it does feel like, in some cases, especially with like Hall and stuff, that they're just trying a little too hard. They're laying it on a little thick.
Yeah. Well, I was in Chicago about 3 weeks ago, and I saw the series against the White Sox, the entire series at Cellular Field. And that was an awesome experience, and I really enjoyed that ballpark. And one of the things I took away from it was they didn't emphasize I don't even know if they had a mascot because they didn't emphasize 20 minutes of the opening theme to let's talk about our mascot. The mascot's going to run around the ballpark in an ATV. That didn't happen. They didn't say that they were the most fan-friendliest park in the nation, but it didn't matter because the park was full. And there was children there was families there, but they didn't have to emphasize that. They didn't have to repeat it over and over and over and over again, like they were beating a drum. And I had a great time there. The food was a lot better than at Chase Field. They had a lot of different selection. I mean, you could get a baked potato at Cellular Field, a fully loaded baked potato at Cellular Field, stuff like that. And at Chase, I mean, what are we? You got nachos and you have a $22 corn dog. I mean, come on. What are we?
I think Chase really screwed up when they did away with, well, technically the stand big dogs is still there. But at one point in time, it was actually a really cool place to go because you could get all sorts. I mean, name your specialty kind of dog. They had the Pittsburgh Stacker. They had the Chicago dog. They had a chili cheese dog. They had the Texas with the barbecue sauce and onion rings. They had all sorts of varieties. So it was at least worth going and checking out. There was always variety, and they were well priced. Yeah, you were still paying $9.50 for a dog, but it was
$10 for a
it was a
dog.
large dog. And it wasn't a $25 clog your arteries. Who the hell wants to eat that? They created this last offseason. It was something that one person did, and they're going to make that their meal. It was an acceptable meal. Hungry Hill was about the only other place because everything else seems to be there last 1 or 2 seasons, and then the novelty wears off and they try to replace it with something else. Their food used to be good. Now it keeps kind of like going downhill from season to season.
Well, on a beverage side, I enjoyed going to Petco Park last year, actually for a company thing, which was kind of cool. And I love that they have a whole booth for Ballast Point Brewing Company. And I don't know why they can't have a booth or even a section for, say, Four Peaks or one of the other places, because I also went to San Francisco's park last year. They have a whole huge bar out in center field for Anchor Brewing Company. So I don't know why we can't do something unique like that, that says, okay, this is Arizona. Here's Four Peaks Brewing Company, or here's Sonoran Brewing Company, or something like that. And instead, it's all very generic. Pardon me?
Our DUI laws suck out here, that's why.
But we got plenty of beer in that stadium. And there's no reason why we can't have a section like that. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I get what you're saying. I think that they're just terrified that they'll actually increase their beer sales and get more DUIs.
Jim, I'm not. Granted, I'm not sure what the liability is like for them. I don't know if it's that severe that they're going to get crucified with some fans driving back drunk. It's hard for me to say that. But I have to imagine they're under the same gun as a lot of other states are. And some states are actually more severe than us.
Yeah.
Look it up. Do it. Look it up.
I'm sure it's true.
That's what that keyboard clicking is.
Yeah. The main thread, just to sort of that I'm getting here, is that Chase, and you could just sort of say this from the actual construction of the park. Everything just seems sort of generic. Like, okay, you have your standard things. Here's this boxy structure. It has a roof that opens. That's pretty cool, but that novelty wore off pretty quickly, if we're quite honest. But it just seems like, okay, we have all these things that are standards, but there's nothing like you talk about. The beer stand and Petco and like that stuff you could get at US the phone place. And so it just seems like everything at Chase, it's all there, it's all fine, but it's just like way too generic, at least concession-wise. I mean, that's the sense I'm getting from this discussion.
I think generic is a great word to describe pretty much the entire experience for a Diamondbacks game.
Well, I think that they're marketing their entire platform to 12-year-olds instead of young adults or even adults in midlife, which is what they should be doing, because we're the ones that are going to be buying the tickets. We're the ones that are going to be buying the beer. We're the ones that are going to be cheering the team on from home when we don't get to go to the game. When you're marketing your entire team towards 12-year-olds and children, you get people that come to the field, they stay there for the 6th, maybe 7th inning, and then they leave. And that's their experience, is 7 innings of a game, and their experience is buying cotton candy and the $1.50 cheap hot dogs. If you were to market it towards young adults, college kids, or us in our 30s and 40s, you're going to get more money in the per diem or the per capita. I mean, we're going to spend more money than the people that are bringing their kids who are on a budget who are going to buy the $1.50 hot dogs. We are the ones that are supporting this team as adults. We are the ones that are going to spend more money. We want an adult experience at the ballpark. We don't want a 12-year-old's experience at the ballpark.
And I mean, that's not to say you can't really have both, but yeah, it feels like it is sort of shifted to that side, that I think it is possible to just sort of like be able to please both sections. But I don't know, the Diamondbacks feel like they want to get families in, which is fine, but we live in Arizona. Everybody's old, dying, and racist, so
Oh, that's not true, man. We have the youngest demographic one of the youngest in the nation here in Phoenix. I think average age 35, I believe.
Yeah, but what about the people coming from Scottsdale, Mesa, et cetera, et cetera? But
Yeah, Patrick. What about the people coming from Scottsdale?
Hey, I don't live in Scottsdale, bro. No, the point I'm trying to make is we're marketing to those crowds who are traditionally a very unloyal crowd. Why are we going after, say, Tempe, downtown Phoenix, younger crowds? I know they do college nights and all, but Matt, Ed Big Head's right. We don't really focus on a younger, say late 20s, early 30s kind of crowd at all. And I think there's an opportunity there. Maybe the D-backs are missing out on that.
Yeah, well, like I said, you should be able to at least make it appealing for all sorts of sections, but you shouldn't really zone in on one thing too much, because you're going to lose another thing, like the sort of people with kids and stuff, which is fine because you want those people to come to the games because they'll spend money, but they might not spend as much money or come back as much as, say, like you guys were saying, the people in their mid-20s to early 30s. So, or they might not be. I don't know. I'm not. This is not my area of expertise, but that did stop me before. I think we're sort of winding down because I have no more topics. But I'll let any of you guys, if you guys want to throw something out there as a one last topic, go for it.
Who replaces Kirk Gibson?
I think Kirk Gibson probably lasts out the season, and if that's the case, he's fired before there's going to be, we can really start to evaluate. I would love to see Turner Ward get a shot at it. They go and wait out the entire season, then they won't need an interim guy, so chances are they go outside of the system entirely and bring in somebody new. But if Gibson does go during the season, I'd love to see Turner Ward be the guy that steps up.
Okay, if Gibson goes, does Alan Trammell go as well?
I would personally imagine so, because those guys are connected at the hip.
I cannot envision Trammell sticking around if his buddy Gibson is canned.
Yeah, because those guys were sort of reversed roles on that for the Tigers for a few years, stopping in 2003 when that team was terrible. So, yeah, they're like old war buddies. So, yeah, I don't see that. So, yeah, if there was an interim, Ward would seem to be the most obvious option. But then again, we've had interim manager and now interim general manager of the San Diego Padres as of this morning, A.J. Hinch. So, who knows?
Yeah, I'm more interested to see who's going to be the general manager going forward. I mean, I really wonder if Tony La Russa is going to become that de facto guy, and if his presence right now is just smoke and mirrors, and until the season's over. What do you guys think?
Yeah, that's the thing about La Russa. Like, part of his job description is, he has final say on everything. So that just essentially means you're a general manager? Question mark?
Yeah, I don't really get how. I mean, it kind of worked, I should say, in Texas, and it's how they're doing business with the Cubs right now, with Hoyer and Epstein. But if they're going to go out and get themselves a new general manager, and they're going to be competing with at least the Padres now, and quite possibly one or two other teams that once this season is over, I cannot imagine that the presence of Tony La Russa as the guy that gets to say yes or no on every decision is actually going to be a positive selling point for a guy trying to get his feet wet as a general manager, trying to make his name as a general manager, or even a woman if they decide to go after him.
Who is our current third base coach? I know he's been with our organization since it was founded. What is his name? He used to be
Glenn Sherlock. Glenn Sherlock.
Does anybody else think that Glenn Sherlock is Matt Williams in disguise as far as the third base coach?
My working theory is that all third base coaches for the Diamondbacks are terrible.
Yeah.
Because
you might be right.
because I saw that. That play was like on Friday where he basically said, always go for an inside the park home run. Nope, he gets thrown out by 50 feet.
Or was he?
Okay, it was 30. Fine, you got me.
Well, wait, what was the controversy, though, about the new rules kind of being ignored with Owings? Yes, he really shouldn't have made that turn, but...
Oh, with the play blocking thing?
Yeah, exactly.
I think
Posey rule just sucks.
It does. I'm not going to argue with that, but did that not violate the Posey rule?
The thing is about the Posey rule, which is its name because that's why it exists, because Mr. Posey is a delicate flower. His last name says so. But the problem is, if you wanted to actually do something about that, whether you agree with doing something about it or not, is draw a very firm line. Don't have this wishy-washy. Well, you see, the catcher is sort of like this, and it's and the constellation Ophiuchus is overhead, and it's about 3 p.m. Then he's safe. But otherwise, it's that I'm being, I'm using hyperbole as a sort of set for humor sake, but that's not. That's like it is that sort of complexity, where it's just like if you just say like, "Oh, hey, don't run into the cache, you idiot." That's more harder for, but nobody can really argue with an interpretation of that.
Owens was clearly out.
Yeah.
I know, bad idea to send him, and he was clearly out.
No, I agree with you.
That it didn't get overturned, mostly because it was a clean play. But if they're going by the way the rule is written, then it was the wrong call, and he should have been safe.
And that's the only thing I want to say there. That's me playing devil's advocate. Yeah, you're right. Every other day of the week, he's out. But the poster rule.
Right. And umpires are horrible at being consistent when they apply the rule. And even like this time, they went and had New York give them a clarification. Hey, was he out or safe? And the guys in New York are like, oh, no. Totally legit. Just a couple days earlier, they busted Russell Martin for standing on the plate when it was a force out at home. So he has to stand on the plate.
There was also a because this came on ESPN right after the World Cup game, so I saw it was because of the Sunday night game between the Rangers and Angels, and this happened the first inning where it was kind of much the same thing. It was someone on the Angels, I think it was Calhoun, was heading for home on a play. Catcher's just sort of standing in front of the plate, just ready to receive the ball. Comes, tags him, he's out, but apparently they apply that rule, and he's safe, apparently, and Rod Washington threw a very legitimate fit about it, and he got thrown out.
Yeah, it's being poorly applied, and it's completely inconsistent. It makes, C.B. Buckner's strike zone look special and all nice and perfect. I mean, you're going to get, let's see, 15, 60, so we got 68 umpires running the circuit right now. You might get 65 different interpretations.
Yep, definitely. But, it's sort of is what it is, and it's dumb, but again, that's my theme was, the theme going to the show was, maybe we'll talk about the future, but no, it's mostly everything is dumb. Why is that?
Yeah, there we go. Generic and dumb.
Generic and dumb. Your 2014 Arizona Diamondbacks. Put that in a commercial, Derek Hall.
Okay, so has Jim discussed it all with anybody or posted about a Snakepit Fest this season? Because I haven't heard anything, and season's about halfway over.
Not yet. Jim, if you're watching this, which you should be, because you need to monitor all content on your website, get on that already. Because, I haven't heard anything either. But once we do, he'll post it, hopefully. If not, what the hell's wrong with you, Jim? Come on, Jim. Don't be that guy. I think that's a...
Hey, Jim, if you don't do a Snakepit Fest, then Patrick and I are going to do a Brute Squad Fest. So we'll just go ahead and take over that if you're not ready to do it this season.
Oh shit. I think that's a good. We're at the time, and I think that's a good place as Eddie to sort of wrap things up. So thank you, Pat, thank you, Matt, thank you, James, for being on this. And again, this was 50 episodes, so that's a testament to Jim's unwillingness to change anything. So good job, that. So yeah, be sure to visit azsnakepit.com. Follow it on Twitter, like it on Facebook. So for the four of us, hope you all have a good night and a good week.
Later.